Hello, everybody, and welcome back to week 39 of tracking our local shifting real estate market here in southern New Jersey, Burlington, Camden, Gloucester counties, 900,000 and below. Now, we got a couple things to talk about this week. So today's going to be solo with just me today. We had Ben Matthews with Northwestern Mutual on last week talking about some life insurance and disability insurance and some retirement savings. So we're actually going to be doing a little bit of an extra series for a couple episodes just to break those out in a separate playlist on the YouTube channel. So in the coming weeks, you'll be able to see that. But we have some things to talk about today. One thing that I'm still enjoying seeing, climbing total active listings, 1398. So we are continuing our upward climb. Now, I'm going to be really excited to do the monthly averages and bring our graphs back for next week, because obviously next week we'll kind of wrap up with September here. We'll have a chance to actually take stock of that as compared, because really these last 2 months have started to kind of have really accelerated the trend that we've been talking about, and it's been going. I put here that we are actually have a perfect golden ratio week as well. Our new listings at 305, our pendings at 278, and our 261 at where it is for our closed units. Now, let me explain why I'm talking about the golden ratio right now. What does that mean? Because the golden ratio can mean a whole bunch of different things. For us, the purposes of this golden ratio, since our prices have been steadily on the climb, the way we combat that is by bringing more inventory on the market. Okay. In order to bring inventory on the market, we're going to look at three things. How many listings are coming on the market? How many new listings, right? That's what we're going to call them for this, new listings. What hasn't been on the market before that's brand new? Okay, so that's one category. Okay. Now, that's the way that listings come on the market, but there's two methods that they come off. And one is that they go under contract, so they're effectively not available to the public. And then you have what actually closes. And not every home that gets under contract closes, right? Several deals die in the pipeline. Maybe 5 to 10% of all deals will die in the under contract stage for any number of reasons: attorney review issues, home inspections, appraisal issues, buyer got cold feet, financing, all sorts of stuff, right? And right now, with interest rates on the rise, and that's going to be the thing I talk about right here at the end of these couple of stats, is that we got a pretty bad news actually from the Fed. And I'm going to read you a little something just that my lender had written. But basically, we need more of those listings. So anyway, when I say perfect golden ratio, we'll just kind of backtrack off the interest rate thing. 305 new listings coming on, and only 278 went under contract, and only 261 actually settled. That difference between the 305 and the 261, that new listings versus closed, that's adding inventory to the market that's available for the next crop of buyers, right? So with each month as we've been passing here, that number has been slowly increasing, and that's been making it a little bit easier to look and find for homes. It's still not climbing quickly, I think, enough for buyer sentiment, but it's still we're still going in the right direction. So that's what I talk about when I talk about the golden ratio. All right. Our expired, withdrawn, and cancels are quite low at 60. That's actually not all that surprising. We had a big turnaround at the beginning of the month. So even the 30-day listing agreements haven't even hit yet. The price reductions, though, are still a little bit higher, especially when you look from, I would say, about March through August. These price reductions up here are a little bit higher than what we had before. And again, I think that's because, and we'll see it on our last stat here about where the list prices are, there's still a lot of pricing going along to a previous trend line where we have really capped off in terms of the pricing. So you are still seeing some of those little bit overpriced listings, but they're being reduced more than they were before. So that's still happening, is that we have more reductions happening than we kind of normally would have, maybe this time of the year, but definitely over the last 6 months. Okay. The last little bit, our average days on market and median days on market, they have been increasing. It hasn't been by a huge amount, but it's also not insignificant. Just even as we go back just the beginning of the August, our median days on market was 20. We're up an entire week in just 2 months. An entire week in days on market has increased just in these past 2 months. And we're not talking about the Philadelphia market, which is a very different market and a much slower market where we would expect to see that actually much higher. But for our three counties, which are really stable counties and actually pretty high in demand counties, I think Burlington was one of the top five in the state. We've done that in a previous video. To go up that much, that's not insignificant. I wouldn't say alarm bells are going off quite yet, but when you're looking at this days on market increasing and you're looking at your price reductions increasing, that's kind of telling me that we're kind of capping out here for a period of time. Okay. Now, total volume, we finally got over the 500 million mark for the first time in, I don't even know how long. It's been months since we've hit that 501 number. And that just simply correlates to the total active listings. However many active listings there are, multiplied by the median list price or the price point, that's what's available currently on the market. And then we see our last stat here that our median list price is a third all-time high. We had a 1 week with a 345. That was kind of an anomaly week. And then just 2 weeks ago, we hit our year high of 349, but we're here at 344,995 at the moment. So still on the rise for what we're looking at for these median list prices. One of the considerations I have been thinking about, and I don't think I'm going to do it for this year, but as we go into year two of tracking this, I might start increasing not only the median list price, but the median sale price. What we've been talking about this entire time is just what these homes are being listed for, marketed for. But we also know that agents use all sorts of different tactics when they go to list your home. So some may list slightly higher than normal, some may list slightly lower than normal or market, some may list right at it. And that can sometimes be at the whim of the strategy of the agents who are taking the listings. Whereas when you start bringing in the median sale price, tactics are out the window at that point. Sale price really comes down to what did a ready, willing, and able buyer and a ready, willing, and able seller actually agree to and sign on the dotted line and go to settlement for. I'm very curious to see that because I think what I would assume is that they're actually quite similar. If not, the sales price is actually higher than the median list price, which wouldn't be all that unreasonable, seeing as how there are still many listings that price aggressively, meaning on the lower end, and they're expecting sale prices above their asking price, right? So that's all well and good for us. Now, what my lender basically told us was that the Fed came out and gave us some news that actually wasn't good news. They're trying to keep inflation around 2%, the consumer price index about 3.6, 3.9, and then the actual base rate's like 4.2, which is it's in line with expectations, but it's not at all what we need to start to turn interest rates back around. And we just saw, I think as of literally this morning, and again, these can change. These change literally daily. But as of this morning, the 30-year fixed rate for mortgages was up at like 7.49%. That is actually the highest that I have ever seen, the 30-year fixed rate for a conventional mortgage since I've been selling real estate. And I'm just now starting my ninth year in the real estate market here in South Jersey. And that is the highest that I've ever had interest rates, ever. Let's talk about something real quick. Let's say we start getting into this period where the dynamic of power begins to shift a little bit between the seller and the buyer. Or maybe you're that seller that, you're putting your home on the market and it's not the sexiest home on the street. It does have some condition issues. It's not maybe in a great location. It doesn't have you name it, the layout, the this, the that, the whatever. Sellers are going to start seeing their home 60 days on market, 75 days on market, 90 days on market. And you may price reduce because pricing cures all objections. But what would be an outside of the box way of enticing a buyer to buy your house, maybe over somebody else's house? And what you can do as a seller is actually offer to buy the rate down for the buyer. So for example, let's say you list your home at 350 and there's a buyer who really likes it, but they're just like, you know what, I can do the price point, but right now where I'm sitting, my monthly payment on this house is just a little high. And especially in all you people who have the slightly higher tax bracket towns in South Jersey, I think we know what a lot of those can be. Haddonfield definitely comes to mind. Cherry Hill can come to mind. A couple other townships who have slightly higher than average tax brackets, I would say. What you want to think about is the buyer's affordability is already being hurt, right? We saw in a couple previous slides when we brought that out. Affordability is at about 29%, meaning 29% of the average income right now is being spent on housing. And so you have to think for these buyers, they're already feeling that pinch. And then we have the interest rates quite high, and then we have the prices quite high, and we have taxes quite high. So what can we do to help those buyers with their monthly payments? And the way we can do that is help them buy points on their own mortgage. And we do that in the way of basically a seller concession. The same way we would use a seller concession to assist a buyer with closing costs. The same way we would use a seller concession to assist with home inspection. If repairs were made and there were some that weren't able to be repaired, but the seller was willing to give a credit in lieu of repairs, right? That happens quite frequently in real estate transactions. We use that same mechanism to have the seller out of the equity, out of the sales proceeds of what they're going to get. So it's not like it's an upfront cost, but they can basically factor it in and say, hey, buyer, go and do this with your lender. Go and buy an extra point or a couple points off of your mortgage. You're going to be able to reduce the interest rate that you're going to get. So instead of 7.49, maybe you're able to get into 6.49 or even lower, right? And the seller will pay for that out of their proceeds. So that's a big consideration that we may start to see. Now, if you are still one of these creme de la creme listings in one of the great towns, in one of the great areas, in one of the great neighborhoods, which has all the bells and whistles, no, you are still in a position in a seller's market here where you hold the cards, you hold the power, you hold everything that's going on. So that's not quite for everybody yet, but it's definitely a consideration for some of you, especially consider if you have one of those listings that you think, oh, man, it's just not going to be quite as attractive as the next person's listing or something like that. So anyway, that's going to sort of do it for us here, week 39. I don't have a lot more else for you this week. Stay tuned for next week, though. Week 40, end of September, we're going to be going into basically it's going to be the last week of Q2, right? October, November, December. Yeah. So this next week will be, or Q3, excuse me, and then we'll be starting Q4. We're done Q2 way early in the year. So we're going to do a chance where we're going to do kind of a monthly review. We're going to see where a lot of our trend lines are, because this has been a weird summer, a very weird summer in South Jersey real estate. And from everything that we're seeing, it's going to continue to stay a little strange for the coming period of time. So anyway, that'll do it for us here, week 39. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you next week.